a legendary guest, GeneDecode. Thank you, GeneDecode, for coming to my channel. It has been very long since you last came. And last time when I interviewed you, you weren't able to go on YouTube, I remember, because even the word or your name, Gene, then we get a strike and warning. So we couldn't find you anywhere on YouTube. But these days, I see you on YouTube. So something has changed, do you think? Is it more
Yes, the algorithms are loosened up a bit now that Trump's in. They're getting a little bit of free speech, and I know what words not to say.
Hmm? Okay, so maybe you can tell me afterwards if I said the wrong word, because I don't know. Yeah, well, myself also, I don't know if you know, but my channel, 2 or 3 channels got deleted. Not because of you, but I've been getting a lot of warnings. I never monetized, and I was working so hard, but ended up losing 2 channels, popular channels. But many people now is getting back their channel. I think Kerry Cassidy got her channel back, and maybe David Icke also got their channel back. So I hope it's going to change.
Yeah, I know a few people that have had their channels gone for 8-9 years got their channels back.
That's wonderful. Okay, Jean.
Yeah.
I have interviewed you, and I was able to publish these 2 books. The first one this, and then second one this one. And both of the 2 books became Amazon in Japan and #1. And this one was so popular, the first one. I got about 1,000 reviews. And it was out of stock for a long time when I released it. And it's because you talked about the DOMs, and nobody in Japan knew about DOMs that thoroughly. I knew there was a DOM, but not that thoroughly as you have told us. So everybody, including myself, was so surprised to know about the DOMs. And how many DOMs are there in the world at the moment, or was there in the world, the DOMs?
Probably about 10,000.
Oh, 10,000. Oh, I thought 5,000, but 10,000. So do you know how many % has been cleaned up?
About 90%. 90% of the DOMs that are created by the cabal.
Oh, okay.
By the deep state.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 90%. So they're all cleaned up, or are they still remaining?
They're still working on some. There's new technology they're using that's helping them, that is helping them go faster. It's a plasma energy technology that opens up a wormhole and then sends a plasma burst through into a DOM. And then the U.S. has some pretty high technology where they can materialize Special Forces Delta units using that technology into a DOM as well. So they can also scan inside the DOM now and see who's there, and they can see who's military, who's children, who's who, and what's in there, and booby traps, and they can then do a lot to neutralize a lot of the traps in those things now. So it's a lot safer for the Alliance.
Wow. So if we use our imagination, there's lots and lots going on beneath our feet. And most of the population, maybe 99%, they don't know anything about that. So
Yes, which is surprising in Japan because most of your big castles,
mhm.
your ancient castles, your capital city castle back when, they have tunnels at least to get out, and they had secret areas underneath as well in case of siege and things like that, where they could get out and have meetings and go other places and then come back without being known.
Oh yeah, well, we can kind of imagine about the castles, but imagining that there was um, tunnels that connect all the dams around the world, even Japan. That's
Yes,
people would never imagine that. It's just so incredible.
yes, there are maglev tunnels and other kinds of tunnels that connect the system worldwide, the cabal system worldwide. There's tunnels that go from DC to Tokyo, and they can take a maglev train and be there in under an hour. So it's like, I think it's about 32 minutes or something from Tokyo to Washington, D.C., either way.
So you said 90% were deep state dams, but the Alliance, they don't want to use those maglev systems. It sounds very convenient.
Yeah, the Alliance is cleaned up and using a lot of them. Some of them were so bad of what was in there that they just destroyed them. But a lot of them have been cleaned up. A lot of the tunnels under DC and that were so bad they flooded the Potomac River into them several times to clean it out because what they're doing with the children and things like that underneath DC and the White House and Congress and Senate and all of that, they found tunnels. And then Trump lately is talking and showing tunnels underneath the Kennedy Center, I think it is, and other areas too. So the Alliance has built some of their own now. They have new underground facilities and maglevs that they've built because they can build them really fast now with the technologies they have.
The Alliance is using the dams for themselves.
Yes.
Because it's very convenient. But
Yes.
It must have been very difficult to hide all that because you have to use the surface as well to do all the work, the dam cleaning. So maybe it was done during the pandemics and but people didn't notice. The little earthquakes were caused by the cleanup of the dams. I think you said.
Yes, you're correct. Some of the ones in Japan, and then the recent huge earthquake off the Kamchatka Peninsula, and that was a dam being cleaned out too.
So in Japan also we had these acrum and these kind of horrible things going on for the children, and it's not really talked about much in Japan, but lots of maybe stars or politicians might have been involved in it.
Correct, yes. And most of your big politicians, movie stars, all of that were involved worldwide. It's kind of how the deep state keeps people under control is they get blackmail on them and they frame them and they video them and put them all this stuff now. And so now that is being cleaned up and Trump's cleaning out the deep state worldwide. And we won't be long, I don't think, until we'll see worldwide tribunals. We'll start with the U.S., of course.
Yes, it's so quick. The Maduro and Venezuela and Iran is so fast because Trump and the military is using these, I think, the space technologies. Just, people can't imagine that super technologies. And so it's going to go fast, I understand. Do you know anything about Japanese imperial family?
Yes, and they've had their own tunnel systems, and not the huge domes of present time, but there are ancient domes. Part of why Hiroshima and Nagasaki happened is there was an alien group that was helping Japan for World War II. And that's where their underground facility was, in those two cities. That's one of the reasons they chose. There was another reason, but that's one of the reasons they chose to use the nuclear weapons on those two cities.
Yeah, there must have been reason why hitting that city where there's no military base and just ordinary citizens there.
Yes,
So, wow.
and that's one thing I've talked to people about. If you figure you're fighting a samurai nation.
What nation?
Well, Japan's a samurai nation.
Samurai nation. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Samurai code, Bushido, all of that. And so if you're talking about that kind of war ethic, that they don't surrender, they won't. And my father was scheduled for the first invasion into Japan.
Wow.
If they hadn't and the fatalities were estimated to be 98% because of that, the fighting code of the samurai, the Bushido code of the Japanese warriors. That I wouldn't be here pretty likely if they hadn't done the bombs. But the main reason that they had to do Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like you said, there were no bases. If you're going to hit a military opponent like a samurai, first of all, you're not going to do it one bomb one day, one bomb later, right? You're going to just bam, bam, keep going until they surrender. And then the second thing you're not going to do is you're either going to hit a military target or you're going to hit the biggest civilian target there is, something like Tokyo.
Yeah.
But they did not do that. The reason is how nuclear weapons actually work. It's not just, supercritical mass. It has to be on a ley line, which are static lines that run from pole to pole. And then there's moving lines that come out of the equator, and those lines do crosshairs. Well, Japan east to west does not have but a couple ley lines on it, where Hiroshima and Nagasaki lie. There aren't ones on Tokyo or, say, the military bases of the day. And so they had no choice, because you have to hit that moving magnetic line and the static ley line within 1 second degree of arc when it crosses within 1 second in time. Or you don't get a nuclear blast, you get a big nuclear mess like Fukushima or 3 Mile Island or Chernobyl. That's why nuclear facilities are actually purposely not built on ley lines. So if something happens, they don't go kaboom.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's amazing. But when you say aliens, the Draco reptilians were helping the Hitler, Nazi. So you mean Draco reptilians? Reptilians, when you say aliens helping Japan.
Yeah, it's another one. You can actually see carvings in Japan of stone that are small, very ancient, especially up in northern Japan, of very kind of pot-bellied, brown-bodied, non-terrestrial beings. These are the ones.
Are they good ones or bad ones?
Well, it depends on your point of view, right? If you're helping Japan and you're Japanese, they're good ones. If they're helping Japan and you're the U.S. and the Allies, they're the bad ones, right?
but they have agenda. The reptilians, Draco reptilians that were helping Nazi, they had their agenda, the population agenda, I think, and the Greys that were helping Eisenhower at Majestic 12, they also had agenda of like depopulation and trying to take advantage of humans. But galactic federations and the aliens from Andromeda, they're trying to help the humans. So I kind of divide if it's really good for the humanity or the bad for the humanity.
That's how I look at it is, overall, what's the agenda of the non-terrestrial group? So the ones helping the NACIs and the Mustache Man in World War II, their agenda was to control the Earth.
Yeah.
And ruthlessly. The NACIs found that out later, and they, had eventually had a breakaway group because they didn't care for having to have a Alpha Draco on every one of their lead ships. They had all their ships had, their Dark Fleet ships, their Hanabus, all of that. They had to have a Draco representative on board every single one. Plus, when they built the moon base out, the Alpha Draco gave them the property in the area, and they built a base that looked like a swastika on the moon. And they thought they're going to honor them. They took 90 of the top SS, their top Secret Service people, in a big ring surrounded by Alpha Draco primes all around them. And they thought they're going to be honored, and they just slaughtered them and ate them alive. And it's like, yeah, your honor is your dinner. Yeah, no? So, yeah, not much of an honor.
Sorry, thank you very much. I recently did my podcast yesterday talking about Chaim Eshed and Paul Helia, the Israel and Canadian defense minister and the person in charge of the space programs. They both talked about galactic federations helping Earth or Trump administrations. So I kind of think and believe that galactic federations is real and they are helping us or helping the alliance. That's the reason why Trump and military was so strong against Venezuela. So what can you talk about the Galactic Federation?
Oh yes, it's absolute. We would not have gotten where we were, especially cleaning out the dumps. But besides that, with the NACIs and our solar system, the Alpha Draco, all of that, we would not have cleaned up the Earth without the help of the Alliance. I call it the Alliance, the non-terrestrial alliance that works with the humanity to break off of the control that the Kabbalah deep state has had on the human species for thousands of years. And now we're gaining our freedom, and a lot of it is key to non-terrestrial help, as well as ancient technologies that have been found that the U.S. has. So that's been demonstrated that the U.S.'s technology, as Trump has said, is so far weapons and things way beyond nuclear that we have, and things like was shown in Venezuela with the removal of Maduro, or his body double in this case in actuality. But the way that came about, it became obvious that the U.S. Delta Service, Special Forces, the Delta Group, has technology that I don't think another country on Earth can touch it, like Trump says. It's not just mouth. People say he has a big mouth and he says a lot of things that's not true. That is true. We have technology that, they just materialized inside the Venezuela area, and the Venezuelan, Cuban, and Venezuelan special forces were trying to shoot the U.S. Special Delta Forces. They were with automatic weapons, hundreds and hundreds of rounds. Nothing touched the U.S. Special Forces. And then they used a sonic weapon that just made the Cuban and the Venezuelan forces become inert and get sick and, start throwing up and, essentially just neutralize them. And they actually used a weapon that killed, I think, 30 or some of the Cuban forces and about 50 or 60 of the Venezuelan forces in just seconds. So, and then they distracted him, and all the missile systems didn't work. One missile went off, but only went about 30 feet up, and then it fell back down. So, back to where it came from. So the U.S. has technology that is just mind-bending.
Yeah, obviously the help from the extraterrestrials, and thank you very much. So I thought we're becoming member of the Galactic Federations, and to become member of Galactic Federations, we have to be a peaceful planet. So I kind of believe that there will be no nuclear war because the Galactic Federation is watching, and so I'm quite positive that there won't be, a very horrible war, big war anymore. And so in order to get this world peace, I thought President Trump was working with Putin and Xi in China. That's what I thought. So now it looks as they're going to have a battle between Russia and USA. But I want to believe that Putin is a very great person working for humanity. So can you please tell me what's going on between Putin and President Trump and Xi of China, please?
Yes. They are part of the alliance, Putin, Trump, and Xi, and Modi, and MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, and they're all working together to bring down the cabal worldwide. And so the back and forth between Putin, I don't like him, what Trump says, I don't like him, Not happy. And we're trying to solve Ukraine. It's not actually that it's lip service. It's a movie. It's not really what's happening. They are working together 100%. Is to keep the deep state off what is called strategic ambiguity and to throw it off, and also to make people think things that are a little different than they really are. So like what's happening in Ukraine is to clear out the dumps, the trafficking of children, organ harvesting, all kinds of gain of function research was being done. Those have been cleaned out. A huge dump was in Chernobyl. That was cleaned out. A lot of children were rescued all over the Ukrainian area. That's true. So it's also, the Banderite regime that is Zelensky and all the group that backs him is just a deep state tool. The whole government was put in 2014, was a color revolution by the deep state to control Ukraine, to make, to try to break apart Russia. And so Putin and Trump have been working hand in hand to drag that war out, to make it not end. Because there's certain goals that they know have to be done. They have to finish cleaning out all the dumps and tunnels in Ukraine, which are a massive amount. There's tunnels and dumps and things that go back thousands of years in Ukraine. Go back to not just the NACIs built them there, also There's ancient civilizations, Hyperboreans. I mean, it's a labyrinth of stuff in there. So they're cleaning all of that out. Plus, they have to pretty much, as they said, DNAZI the place. So if you're going to do that, that means those people have to be removed. They're not going to, they have kind of like a Bushido code. They're not going to surrender. The only way to get them out of there is gone off the face of the earth, in other words, so no longer physically on earth. And so the only way to do that is continue the war and till Ukraine is pretty much down to, like, I think it'll probably go down to the point it's like a rump state where they don't have Odessa and they don't have a seaport and they don't have access to the ocean, and that way they're no longer a threat. And so that's part of what Trump's doing. It's also the same thing you see. It's to help all the huge amount to literally bankrupt the cabal. Billions and billions of money laundering pouring into Ukraine and then going back out, all of these weapons going in and then showing up in the black market all over the world, which are, now being tracked, and they know where everything is, and it's bankrupt, and it's made the entire EU and NATO pretty much defunct. It's pretty much bankrupt, and it'll be gone. So this helps the alliance to bring down and end NATO and start a peaceful organization, a true peace organization. It never was a peaceful organization. It was more, I called it North Atlantic terrorist organization, and the EU is nothing but an offshoot of it, actually, where they're just, now saying they're going to attack Russia and all that. But like you said, this thing of nuclear war with Russia, and they're going to have this, the cabal wants to do that. They can't. The alliance, the non-terrestrials, gave the U.S. technology that they used back in 1990. The U.S. and Russia were going to nuclear war. Most people don't know it. And I saw 2 nuclear ICBMs offloaded off of one of the SSBNs in Pearl Harbor. And I was like, and then another submarine, and then another one. I'm like, we're taking all our nukes off? What the heck? Well, it turned out that they had all been made inert. The warheads had been made inert. And that had happened in Russia. All of the nuclear powers had all of their warheads made inert by the alliance because they knew the world was going to go to a nuclear war, and they don't want this world destroyed. And they want the human species to survive. So they gave that technology to the U.S. so that now they can go to a black swan event and come really close to it and go all the way up close to launch, but they're not going to be able to do anything because they can make warheads inert now. The U.S. military has the technology to do that. Like you said, they can't do it.
Thank you very much. In 2016 and 17, when President Trump became president for his first term, he did that world tour, and he visited many places like Vatican, Saudi Arabia, India, China, Japan, and Davos, and EU, and so and so, and Great Britain. And at that time, I think you said, and also many other people like Janet Ozenberg in Fall of the Cabal and many others said that they have been capitulated. They took all the proof from what they got NSA, and I think you said that I said, how can Trump go to all these DS places? It's not safe, like Davos and Vatican. And I think you said that before that world tour, they were able to hit some DS leader in Italy or Vatican, near Vatican, and they were successful. I think you said that kind of thing. So I thought that when President Trump did that world tour, and then there was the election in 2020 between Biden and Trump, and I thought Trump is going to win, and JFK Jr. is going to come out, and then everything is going to be solved. But that was 2021, and he lost by the fraud election. And now it's still continuing to this day, this fight between light and dark. It's taking so long. But what can you say about that world tour in 2018?
That's what they call the capitulation tour.
Yeah.
And so what that was, and if you notice, he was carrying a red folder. And Putin has a red folder. Modi has a red folder. MBS has a red folder. Maduro has a red folder. That is blackmail on the world leaders and all of the stuff that they have on them, which tells you that Maduro, the real Maduro, is actually part of how he capitulated and came over to the alliance's side. And so we're watching a movie where a lot of things are scripted. Even what we saw in Venezuela, a lot of that was scripted. The Biden, stealing the election, that was scripted so that people would see what it was like if Trump wasn't in. So they would see the truth of what the deep state would do. They would bring in massive amounts of illegals, steal the elections, and rig everything and destroy the economy. And it made people really realize in the U.S. about the Democratic Party. So now, Trump will be able to prove the election was stolen now that he got Maduro, who has all of the Smartmatic and all the technologies that they've used from Venezuela, over 70 countries to steal their elections, including yours, and many, many countries around the world. And that will all be coming out. And they're talking about putting the RICO Act on all the Democratic Party and start making arrests for sedition and treason as well, including Obama. The Clintons were already supposed to appear. They did not. So now there's an indictment against them for not showing up for their subpoena. So now, as they say, there's no one above the law. So they'll find that out to be true. But a lot of what we're watching is a scripted movie. A lot of these people, like Biden and the real Clintons and all of these people, we're watching actors like you see in Mission Impossible, where they have the masks and people can look exactly and sound exactly like someone else. And then they take off the mask and they have a voice modulator, and it's not the same person. So even when Trump did that tour, the cabal doesn't do anything because they don't know if that's the real one or is that a body double or an actor or a clone. So the real Trump, I know since at least 2020, might be as far back as 2018, has been sequestered in Cheyenne Mountain and has not come out because he's safe there. So what we're seeing is, several different actors and body doubles and clones of various people all over the world, and especially Trump.
It's so dangerous, very dangerous.
Yes.
Surrounded by DS all the time. President Trump, in his first term, everybody in his administration, many of them were DS. So I was wondering why he isn't assassinated. So that was double.
During that tour, so many firsts happened that just don't happen. Like, the MBS gave him a sword dance. That is never ever done for somebody that is not in the royal families of the House of Song. And they did that for Trump because he saved MBS's life at the shootout in Vegas. And that's when MBS joined the alliance. The cabal was trying to recruit him, taking him, showing underground technologies and domes and maglevs under Vegas. And so then when he didn't agree to join, they tried to kill him, and there was a shootout. Trump and the special forces were there, and they saved his life. So when he went to Saudi Arabia, he got that. And that's never been done. But when he went to China, he went into the Imperial Palace. That is actually forbidden beyond belief. That has, in thousands and thousands of years, somebody but the emperor has ever gone in there. And same as in Japan. And, he gave the trophy to Yokozuna for the samurai. Not samurai, but the sumo. And so all these first. And then he went across the line from south to north in Korea with Kim Jong-un. And, you can see how happy Kim Jong-un was as he's being rescued as a CIA tool.
Yeah, so, that's right. Yes,
so many things happen. You got to say, this is a movie, and he is capturing all of these places because there's too many things. You never see them in this place. You never have that. You never have there's so many. Same when he went to England, and especially recently when he met, and he stayed in the not just the regular place, but he was welcomed as royalty. He was called royalty. He was put in the carriage like royalty. He stayed only where royalty happens, not to stay. Not where, only where the King of England stays. So that says he is the King of England. So, this, and Melania too. So, and, you look at the clothes and you look at the stances and you look at the body positions. And when he did that capitulation tour and he went to Westminster Abbey, he signed a big book. That book is the book for the Crown Corporation, of the London Corporation that owns all the financials of the world. And that means the alliance of, Trump is the CEO. So that is, there's a lot of symbology. You have to know what you're looking at. To really understand what was going on when Trump, supposedly did not win 2020 and Biden was sworn in. The amount of, the gunfire was not, it was like a funeral.
Yeah.
The military turned their back on him like, a dead person, not honoring him. There's all kinds of things showing. And then when Trump was sworn in, you're seeing judge advocates standing next to him at his first time. So you're seeing military judges and all of this. And then, right before Trump got out, you were seeing what looked to me like the gallows being built outside of the White House. So, there's all these things going on that they don't explain. But if you know what you're looking at, you understand it. It's the same thing, saying, we took Maduro, we kidnapped the president of another country, we don't have authorization. He's a wartime president. He actually was the president during 2020 of the United States, not the corporation, the constitutional United States, these United States for America. Not the U.S. in caps, United States in caps Corporation of 1871 Organic Act. And I think Halper Hayes talked about that in the UK, and about the dumps too. So we're watching a whole lot of things worldwide that will be coming out later for the average person to understand. But if you understand what's going on, especially like Derek Johnson talks about the Law of War Manual, he had authorization to go in under the occupation rules let alone the Monroe Doctrine and a whole lot of other things to go in, because Venezuela was already a puppet state of the cabal, and China already had military and nukes in there. They had nuclear weapons, and Trump has now kind of said nuclear weapons and things just recently at Davos. The WEF that's just going on. And additionally, besides that, you had Chinese military in there in a base, and you had in Cuba get nuclear missiles from China in there. So what is happening is that's why he's going to, probably go Cuba, go to Colombia, because these things are already there, and they're making the world a safer place and freeing these countries that are nothing but captive. Same with Iran. Iran has just been a captive state, and the CIA overthrew it and put that current dictator in there. It was a wonderful country before that. Women had freedom and rights, and not like what you see under Noah and share a lot. Nothing, So a lot of things are going on that people don't. If you look at the surface, it doesn't look at all like what's really going on.
Yeah, thank you, Gene. I know what you say, and I even wrote about it in my book about these white hat operations. And I really thought that election, they intentionally let Biden win, but they could have stopped it, but they did. They wanted to show the normies what's going on. That's what I thought. But lots of people in Japan, not lots, but some people say that I'm crazy for saying that kind of thing. And so it's a bit, in Japan, still very, very few people that talk about this kind of things. And it's a bit different here. So I really wanted to reconfirm from you what I'm saying is correct. And because Joe Biden was already, I think, arrested and maybe executed. So this one, of course, it's an actor. And I think White House wasn't used. So in that case, when the Japanese Prime Minister, not new one, Suga Prime Minister, Mr. Suga, who visited White House Joe Biden about 3 years ago, I think he didn't go to White House. So I was thinking, if these foreign leaders who visit Joe Biden, they obviously would see that it's not, something is wrong. He's not the real president. So these people that meet Joe Biden, they must be acting as well.
Yes.
So you think they know what's going on?
Oh, yes, of course they know. It's just for the normies, the regular people, the movies for the regular people to wake them up a bit at a time. Trump is already, periodically he says something. Like Biden was executed in 2020. So that already happened. And so I believe what was, it's obviously not him. If you see pictures of Senator Biden, it doesn't look anything like him. And then due to what is called red sky events, it's a technology where we actually had aurora borealis way down into the lower states at night where it's not normally seen. And this is an event that took out some high tech, chips and technologies like that. So after that happened, and they do it every now and then Biden's, the robot that's playing Biden, the AI robot, wasn't functioning well. And so, they have to kind of prop it up. It doesn't walk well. It gets lost. It can't follow its commands. And so it's kind of really, really obvious if you look at the way robots work and the way they walk. It was walking like a robot with
and he repeats some of the orders sometimes by mistake. But so this Joe Biden robot or the double actor is controlled by white hats or the black hats?
I believe the one that what we just went, they let the black hats do certain things. They let them do certain things that's part of the movie. That to wake the people up. Same thing that's going on, because they're game theory the entire situation of how to bring the cabal down way back when. And so there are certain moves and counter moves that have to take place. And it's the least damage, the least amount of life, the least horrific way. But you can't get out of what we were in with zero damage. You're going to lose lives, good people, innocent people. That's the nature of a war. I know people don't like it. It's people that didn't have a military career like myself. You see civilian, casualties and things that they should not happen at all. Yeah, they should not happen at all, but that doesn't mean they don't happen at all. We saw that in World War II, a lot of civilian, death. And this is a much bigger, much more dangerous and deadly war. This is for the freedom of the human species permanently and forever. And you're bringing down a group that's backed by some serious non-terrestrials, the Alpha Draco, the Greys. So when you put that all together with the plans they had, like with the 19 stuff that happened and all of that technology, the only thing they can do is force the deep state to make moves before they're ready. When you make your enemy make a move before they're ready, then the devastation is not as bad. And you already have the technologies to negate. Once you get to the point where the enemy is neutralized, you can negate the technologies like what was in the jab. What was in the jab was not just spike protein. It's got all kinds of nanotech in there and all kinds of things. So, I'm battling, pretty much everybody has it now, because even if you didn't get it, the shedding from people, it gets into you. And so, I'm battling that too, doing protocols to help with that from a doctor that I found that has a really good couple of books on that. And her back of her second book, it's called Transhuman 2 by Dr. Anna Mahalcea, Mihalcea. It has a protocols of how to get that stuff out of you. And it does work quite well. But, you have to keep at it, and I can't quite keep at it all the time, so you can hear a little bit of difference, and I get some congestion sometimes and some of that stuff like I have right now. But that's why we see a lot of what's going on with people, where people literally will change who they are. I mean, they change 180 degrees what they're saying, because once the AI hacks into somebody, it can invert their memories. So when they will say, you're in an argument with them, say years ago, and you say, remember when you said this? No, that was you. I said this. They go, no, that was me. And their memories are 100. You could even have it recorded, play it back. You think that was AI. That was before AI. So this is the nature of war. It's a very high-tech war, and there are the option was the billions dead, literally, down to probably 500 million, like they had put on the Georgia Guidestones would be left, or close to a billion dead. So do you want many billion, or do you want close to a billion?
Yeah.
You have to take a choice.
Yeah,
you can't have nothing. You can't have, absolute clean this thing out, this nasty group of Satanists out that have been here for thousands of years with no casualties at all.
Yeah, I understand that. I always explain that people have to understand the long battle by the extraterrestrials. Otherwise,